right. It's just you and me.
Facing off.
Crossfire.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to the Politics Unplugged podcast. This week we're proud and happy and elated to welcome back Paul Bentz from High Ground, one of the top pollsters here in Arizona. Paul, how the hell have you been?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Let's rap. Let's chat.
Sounds great.
A lot happening in the world of politics, and one of the top storylines we've seen play out over the past couple of months. Donald Trump, man, he's on a roll. His primaries,
right?
Like everybody he's picking, man. He's winning primaries and kicking out the people he doesn't like, and taking out Republicans like Thomas Massie, Senator Casey from Louisiana, Senator Cornyn from Texas, even going all the way down to state legislative races in Indiana.
Right.
Now, if you're just a casual observer in politics, maybe you're aware that the Trump's polling numbers pretty low, 37, 38%, I believe, in the polling averages in the New York Times, which is an aggregate of and an average of all the polls put together. Down 14, 15 points from Inauguration Day. He's lost a lot of general support out there, but
right, from the public.
Public,
right.
But in these primaries, he's still got a lot of sway. So, I mean, the basic question, let's start here. Is the president strong right now or weak politically?
He's strong in the Republican Party. He's strong among his base. His base has not wavered in any of these situations. He continues to demonstrate his strength. He also continues to demonstrate that his enemies list is long and not forgotten. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that we're in sort of this retribution stage where he has remembered everybody who's done anything that he thinks is wrong, and he's looking to fill the Republican Party with loyalists and people who follow his lead. And, I don't know where this goes long term after he's done. Theoretically, I know he says he's toying with a third term or whatever else, but hopefully the law holds and he leaves office. I don't know where that leaves Republicans then, but in this primary situation, we've said all along that Trump endorsement is the gold standard. It incredibly helps
in the primaries.
In the primary, yes. In the primary, it is the steroid shot. It's the boost that these folks use to cross the finish line, because it basically takes away that candidates need to demonstrate their loyalty to Trump. You see this all the time in these other primaries. Mm-hmm. When Trump hasn't endorsed in a primary, it's I'm the Trumpiest Trumper there is. No, and you didn't support this or you didn't support that. And they go back and forth. But when he puts a stamp of approval on these races, it basically puts his thumb on the scale.
Yeah, and one of the bigger surprises for me, there's a lot of attention in the Texas Senate primary. There's a lot of attention in the Kentucky primary of Thomas Massie. But Senator Cassidy was the incumbent in Louisiana. And not only did he lose, he came in third.
Right.
Came in third, man.
Yeah, that's tough. That's how solidified the Republican base is when it comes to Trump. Basically like 70+% of the Republican primary base. Now, it's a narrow portion of the electorate. But when you're talking about these lower turnout primary elections, those are the guys and gals, that show up and vote in these elections, and that's where they're at.
Well, let me ask you, and it's clear, he's still got a stranglehold on the base. Is the base dwindling at all? Is the base shrinking at all?
Well, yeah, I think a little bit, yes, and I also think it's sort of they've let the base take over. I think about here in Arizona, for example. When you look back at, say, like the Tea Party, for example, before some of this stuff, or, that sort of level of MAGAism has always existed in Arizona. It's not a new thing, but it used to exist in Tea Party meetings, and it used to exist at the county party meetings. The county party was where the true believers lived.
Oh, yeah.
And then the statewide party was sort of the managing force. It was generally led by whoever the leading Republican was, whether it was Kyle or McCain or Brewer. That they had sort of a managing force that recognized the need to win a general election. These folks that don't care about winning the general, just being right in the primary, have taken over the entire apparatus. And that's the challenge that Republicans are facing.
So, I mean, is what's good for Trump and his vengeance, is that good for the party?
Not necessarily. I mean, right now, like you said, Trump's numbers are down and his numbers among independents are down. Affordability is the top issue facing the state and the country right now, and they don't have a good rhetoric around that. And so those swing voters that were fed up with Biden, I mean, like, the thing is, Trump won a race despite Harris jumping in and trying to change the conversation. This was really Biden or not Biden. And those swing voters chose to pick not Biden, which ended up being Trump. It's not that the swing voters necessarily love Trump. They love changing things up. And so, the status quo right now, gas prices are incredibly high. We are 3 or 4, I don't know how many international conflicts we are, uncertainty, when it comes to some of that stuff. That is not a great recipe for independence. And so, Trump is going to win a bunch of primaries, and I suspect he'll win primaries here in Arizona. But the problem is those Trump-endorsed candidates are going to struggle in a general election if the independents aren't with them.
Well, and maybe you can correct me if you see this differently. I find it ironic because I think if Trump had a Republican-led Congress that did challenge him a little bit more, it might be good for him because they would put guardrails on him. A lot of the things that he's done that has contributed to him losing 14, 15 points over the past year and a half that he has been president. But if he had a regular Congress that was challenging him a little bit more, maybe he wouldn't be in this position.
Yeah, but does he care at this point? I mean, like, think about this is a guy that did land deals for a living for many, many years. I don't think he cared whether he was liked or not liked. I don't think he cared how the deal went down or if he had to declare bankruptcy or any of those sort of things, if he got what he wanted. And right now, quite frankly, he's getting what he wants, which is apparently a massive MMA fight on the lawn of the White House, a concert that seems to be losing members every day, a giant arch, I mean, these things that he's looking for. I mean, he's just making straight up threats to other countries without.
Don't forget the $250 bill he's having people work on.
Okay, yes, I forgot about the $250 bill, and I'm sure his face on Mount Rushmore or something else. I mean, there's no interest in his approval rating. There's no interest in what happens to the party after he leaves. There's no interest in governing. He's not trying to elect Republicans to help him govern. He's electing Republicans that will do what he wants. And that's really the limitation of what we're seeing among Republicans right
the
now.
YOLO presidency.
Right.
How is it trickling down in Arizona right now? You've been doing polling. What are you hearing? What are focus groups saying? What are people that are getting polled? What are they telling you?
I think the biggest thing right now, as I mentioned, is affordability. And it's not interest rates. It's not even international conflicts. It's the general pocketbook expenditures. People believe that they're having trouble making ends meet. They see gas prices being high. Housing affordability has been an issue in the state for a while. People are perceiving that even more. It's that there's this general unease and feeling that things are not affordable right now and households are stretched thin. And that's an everyman issue. That's not a global, theoretical, that's not the economy. Even it's more of like, I can't afford what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, once it hits you personally, that's why I've always thought, every election cycle you always hear the most important issues are X, Y, and the economy.
Right.
Because I always thought that the economy, when they say that, is just a euphemism for saying, well, I'm the most important thing.
Right.
It's my job that I'm worried about. It's my expenses that I'm worried about.
Right. But what's wild is, in the state economically, we're doing quite well. When you look at TSMC, you look at a lot of our economic growth, we're doing very well as a state. And, a decade ago, as I
don't
said,
tell Andy Biggs that.
no, but a decade ago, like every candidate was like, we need jobs. I mean, 2 decades ago, it was everybody. That was, you could sell anything if it created jobs. We're not in that spot anymore because we've been very economically successful. But that being said, the electorate doesn't feel that success. There's this just general unease that's settled over the electorate that they're feeling on these topics.
Yeah, because I would imagine there's a lot of anxiety out there. It's like, oh, you're telling me the economy's great, but like I'm a paycheck away from being out on the street.
Right. But I mean, the one thing I know you mentioned Biggs, but the thing that Biggs has done better than most Republicans is try to turn some of those issues around on his opponent. We'll see if they're successful, but whether it's management of water or, gas prices or affordability, I mean, these sorts of things he's trying to put back on her lap, not just letting her level the Trump accusations against him. They're going to do it. The Democrats are going to come out strong and hard, and they're going to lay all of these challenges at Trump's lap and ostensibly by the people who are endorsed by Trump. But, it's how the Republicans react to that, I think, that we're going to see.
Yeah, and let's move on a little bit to that race and how all this Trump effect is really trickling down there. I mean, can Biggs win this race? We've known over the past few election cycles that Trump-endorsed candidates lose in the general election.
Right.
Election deniers lose in the general election in November. Biggs is both of those. He's both endorsed by Trump, and he's both engaged in election denialism.
Well, I mean, you look at 2018 and 2020, even 2022, yes, that is in fact the case. But we look at 2024, Trump almost doubled his margin of victory in that election. And in fact, a lot of those Trump-aligned candidates had much bigger victories than they had in the past. In swing districts, for example, both Schweikert and Ciscomani nearly tripled their margin from the previous years. So there was a lot of pent-up support for Republicans in 2024. And going into 2025, I felt initially that there was a strong case that Biggs could win the race. Now, with where we are at environmentally and where we are with the pessimism among the electorate, it's going to be a much bigger challenge. Yeah. That said, Republicans still have a huge registration advantage in the state. Democrats have not chipped away at that really, but we do see some folks leaving the Republican Party. It's not going to be a runaway win for Hobbs if she's able to win. It will be another narrow Democratic victory. Democrats aren't just suddenly going to flip the tables here, but there are places where they can pick up margins of votes.
And in general, it's like when you put Trump on the ballot, it's just different. I think, and you know better than I do, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there are people that just come out every 4 years just to vote for Trump, and they don't vote in anything else.
Right.
And that could be the same the case again this year. So I think, yes, all the voter registration advantage and stuff like that goes for the Republicans, but I think historically, some things that go for the break for the Democrats is the economy,
right.
And this environment we're in right now is something that she can really take advantage of. That's why I was a little surprised when Katie Hobbs' first ad this cycle was a bio ad.
Right,
she's been governor for 4 years.
Exactly.
Man. I mean, but I was joking with somebody the other day. It's like after 4 years with Ducey, it's like we all knew his story. Hell, we were tired about hearing about that damn Datsun he drove from Ohio out here, right? Like
shrink the government and grow the economy. Yeah, and we all could say the lines.
Yeah,
right?
we could, right? And here we are 4 years later, and Katie Hobbs is telling voters who she is.
Well, that tells me that her polling demonstrates that the bio is still one of the stronger things that she has in her repertoire, that maybe some of the accomplishments or other things that they're trying to tout are second to the bio story and making her more of a regular human being. But I was a little surprised that she went biographic. I mean, you've got this authority when you're the governor, right? And you've got authority and you're in charge and you've made these decisions and you fought for things. You start from a position of power and you start from a position of influence, and showing that influence to start showing that you're I always say officious, you're officious, but they decided a different approach, which I think is very interesting.
And I mean, they definitely tied it to affordability. Like, look, I'm just like you. I had to drive an Uber to get through and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, just strange. I don't remember how Ducey started his second campaign, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't, I'm Doug Ducey, I'm from Ohio. And
no.
moving out.
It was more I'm the governor, and those are the things that we've done. Let's keep them moving. Opportunity for all, I think, was the sort of the second time around or something to that effect. But I just look at it, and I think they're trying to maybe lay some groundwork so that when they go after Biggs, at least they've built the predicate of this is who she is, this is what she stands for, which is a good spot to be at. The question, of course, will be, do they come back to that? Mm-hmm. My biggest beef with campaigns these days is that campaigns go after one another. They're negative and nasty. They attack one another. But then nobody, that brings your opponent down. Like if your opponent's up here, that brings them down. But it doesn't make you commensurately go up. Mm-hmm. You need to actually give people a reason to vote for you, not simply against your opponent.
Well, I mean, you also risk when you go on the attack, too. You may be bringing your opponent down, but you could also see some slippage in your own approval ratings.
Right.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a basic thing, just like in business. If you run a plumbing company, you get new customers by telling them how great you are,
right?
Not how bad the other plumbing companies are.
Well, and that's why I'm always sort of fascinated. I know this is a diatribe, but the law firms now, like that certain law firms go after other law firms, like those guys want you to settle. It's like, wow, I don't negging other law firms is a new strategy that I didn't expect. Like sort of negative campaigning
That's
to come
the new
into
world we're in, man. Like that, and what's the one law firm? Jungle Law. Man.
No, but I mean, soon enough we're going to be like, so and so law firm doesn't want you to be a client. We're going to get the low voice and the whole deal.
They hate their clients. That means they hate you.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get attack ads before too long. I mean, it's, and that's sort of where we are. And, Bob Robb had this great article about what Nixon was impeached for this week. And it was fascinating. They talk about that basically Nixon got impeached for the Watergate scandal and for, Republican operatives breaking into Watergate. And then the Nixon tapes revealing that he was sort of a negative, nasty human being in real life. And his observation is we have so much more blatant corruption overt right now, and Trump doesn't care how negative and nasty is, and nobody seems to mind.
Yeah, everybody, there's like this cynicism, this deep cynicism that is this belief that Trump is as corrupt as every other politician, except he's just willing to be out front with that. Well, he's open about it.
Well, but it feeds into this sort of candidate narrative now where you just don't see a lot of positivity from anybody. It just goes really, really negative against their opponent, and they get so focused on opponents. And I don't know if it's the candidates themselves or the people who consult with them. I have noticed that this sort of newer generation, I'm old enough now to say that there's a new generation of people who work on campaigns, that they want to fight first. It's react, respond, and fight, and then maybe come back later. There's just not a lot of that.
That is the world that, whether you like Trump or don't, that's the world he's created.
Right.
For 11 years now, ever since he came down the escalators in June 15th, 2025. I mean, it's been that way. He has changed fundamentally how politics is done. Younger people just getting into politics, I mean, that is basically what they've known their entire lives of politics is you act like this.
Yeah, you can be a decade into politics now, which would put you in a position of probably leading some pretty influential campaigns with no other playbook besides calling people negative nicknames, attacking them all the time, denying the truth, and just going with whatever you feel like saying. It's just such a counterintuitive to the way that coalitions used to be built and the way that campaigns were run when you could win with big margins. That's why, but part of that's negative, nasty tone is why our margins keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. People don't win, with big victories anymore. That's why we're stuck with these really tight races is because you're just basically, it's a race to turn people off so while your people stay on board.
And that's a great way to transition into the Mark Lamb saga. I mean, honestly, right? Because so Mark Lamb is what are the accusations now? They're sending salacious pics to a woman wasn't his wife.
Right.
There's allegations that he threatened her somehow. now there are allegations he was trading racist jokes with a border vigilante. This is all happening out in the Fighting Fifth Congressional District here in Arizona,
Right.
for Andy Biggs's soon-to-be open seat. And going into the race, everybody thought he was a shoo-in, but now these heavy allegations are out there about them that really go against this faith, family, religion kind of candidate that he presented himself as. But it seems like in this modern world, this new political world we live in, like it's not the issue it would have been 20 years ago.
No, certainly not. I mean, I think part of that is that we have such a diffuse media environment these days. The expectations of candidates and what they do and say has changed. But it's also really interesting in that this whole controversy is an advent of new technology, right? I mean, the things that we're seeing is that the allegations are around exchanging texts and photos, which is only 10 years. How long is the iPhone? I mean, 10 years, maybe a little longer now. And like messaging, particularly among social media. I mean, like these are both controversies that are advents of the existence of that technology that allows this to happen and to be traced and tracked. Does it disqualify him from office? That's the question. I mean, CD5 is an incredibly heavily Republican district. It's the whole East Valley for many, many years, but as the far East Valley, that Biggs's district will grow and continue to be redder over time, especially as it gets more into Pinal County. They are not prone to elect a Democrat. So it comes down to how much does this impact the primary? Now, there's been examples. We saw Russell Pierce lose in that general area. We also, years ago, everyone recalls that Jeff Grosskopf lost to Jay Blanchard for one term over
that was over a massive scandal that he was in the middle of that nearly bankrupted the state.
And so Democrat won that race and then immediately lost 2 years later. Yeah. But so there is a chance that there maybe is an electorate that gets fed up and makes a point. But the question is, how much does that impact Lamb in the primary?
Yeah, and there's a guy, Daniel Keenan. He's already up with an ad now. Is this enough, you think, to change that primary? Because again, like we were talking, I mean, what's a scandal, what's not a scandal anymore has changed dramatically. 20 years ago, I would think that someone like Lamb was caught up in all this stuff would probably have to step down and suspend his campaign.
There would have been a lot of pressure.
There would have been a lot of pressure to do so.
And there's still right.
But now he's not even talking about it.
No, it's interesting. It's a little different, and I keep wondering if there's another shoe to drop. So we've had the two stories so far, and now we're starting to see, inklings from the church. I mean, if he is a member of the LDS Church, and we're starting to see pressure on the LDS Church to opine or to speak on this topic. It'll be interesting to see if A, they do, and B, what they say.
That will be, because the church historically doesn't necessarily opine publicly.
Right. And so maybe, but we'll see, there might be things happening behind the scenes. Now, Keenan, the interesting fact about Keenan, I was saying this the other day, is, it's going to take a lot of money to degrade this image that that community has of the sheriff with the cowboy hat and the badge and,
this could be an opportunity for him to get some of that money.
But Keenan's got money too, right? I mean, and so he's got an ad. That's great. He's gonna have to run that ad a lot if he wants to make headway against Lamb. I mean, because Lamb's got a lot of built-in. He's not quite as known as Sheriff Arpaio, but if you say the sheriff, most people think Arpaio. But second to that, I think these days a lot of folks would think Lamb, and I think he cultivated that personality. Wearing the badge and the hat and the vest and everything, basically at all of his meetings. Like you said, he was a shoo-in for this race. Yeah. The question is, did Jay Feely get out too soon? I mean, now Jay Feely would have been in a great spot. Now he's in a very competitive CD1 race and a very competitive general election. CD5's a heavy Republican district. Who wins that primary has a strong likelihood of winning the general election. But, Lamb has certainly put himself in a very difficult spot.
Yeah, and let's end on this. Again, back to the part where he's not talking about this. I mean, that's goes against It seems like it would go against old school like PR strategy and recommendations on this, that you would say like you need to get out there and talk about this and make your case or whatever. Do you think he's making a mistake by not talking about this, or is this the right thing he's doing, at least politically, for his campaign?
Yeah, old school, absolutely. But in the old school, there would have been the Arizona Republic, there would have been the Mesa Tribune, there would have been the Mesa Independent, there would have been several news sources, and they've been writing about it every day or every week. I mean, like we would have been drumbeat. I mean, the Republic's done an incredible job. Yep. Hats off to the authors for the stories that they've written. But like, we just don't see that type of coverage anymore, that drumbeat of coverage, and to make it to a point where it's an untenable position. So they're trying to see if they can weather the storm. I don't know if they can. I don't know if Republic has other things up their sleeve. If you guys have other things, that you can cover to keep that story going. But it's just the difference now is in a diffuse environment like this, we don't see that concentrated pressure where everyone's seeing the same things, opining on the same things, reacting to the same topics. So if they're going out and doing events, if he's doing social media ads or whatever else he's doing, a large portion of the electorate's still just going to see the positive stories, maybe not catch up on the negative story.
All right, man. I think that's about it. Thanks for stopping by here, man. Anyway, Colin and I are about ready to start here in the second segment here. Going to go through a list of the top 100 punk rock albums of all time. I know you enjoy the punk rock.
I do.
What is your favorite punk rock album of all time?
It's so lame. The Ramones. I mean, like,
oh no, that's not lame at all.
No, I mean, like, but it's so. I mean, like, I love the Ramones.
Which one?
Like, actually, the Ramones.
Okay,
like,
the first one.
The
okay,
first one. Like, I just love that album.
It's great.
It's great. It's fantastic. They're not trying too hard every time. But every time I hear one of those songs come on, I get
love that record.
And
spoiler, that's number 1 on the Rolling Stone list.
Well, I got one right. I did take a quick glance at the list, and I will say, I don't think Green Day is a punk band.
All right.
And I know people will do. I don't really like Green Day. I'm sorry to say.
That's fine. I'm not the biggest fan either.
Yeah. I don't think they should be in the top 20.
I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a minute with Colin, but my biggest problem is what's not in the top 20 with that stupid list.
I can't wait to tune in.
But the Ramones stuff is solid. I love that record. I love Rocket to Russia as well.
Oh, that's a great one too. Yeah.
Those guys just hit after hit after hit. I mean, the lyrics halfway through the song the first time you hear it.
Right.
You can sing the back half.
Exactly.
And Rocket to Russia, number 26, by the way.
20, not even top 20.
Well, I mean, they did get number 1, so they probably didn't want to put 2 up that high. I don't know.
I can't wait. I'm going to tune in.
I'm about to go Festivus on that list. I got a lot of problems with that list.
I can't wait.
All right, man. Can't wait to see. I'm sure we'll have you back over the long, hot summer as we build up to the big grand finale here in the fall.
Maybe next time we'll eat ice cream.
Oh,
for a hot summer.
Oh well, there you go. We have another guest that you still that would lobby for food here.
Oh, I have a guess. Thanks, brother.
Yes. Hey, thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, of course.
And welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. And as always, Colin Stanton, the great producer of this show, the glue that holds it all together. Damn glad to see you, man. How was your week?
Yeah, it was a good week.
Yeah?
Yeah, you and we missed last week. So
we missed last week. I was on vacation.
Yeah.
Having a very vacation. I didn't go anywhere.
Good.
Taking care of stuff, taking care of business,
Yeah. Yes. Yep. No, good to be back.
Yeah, man. So what kind of stories for you stood out this week, man? Political or otherwise?
Politically, the Texas election seemed like the big one.
Yeah.
You start to lose track out of Washington, man. It's just this sort of barrage of stuff. Oh, and the 250 concert.
Oh,
the Trump 250 concert.
That would have been
fun,
dude. That would have been a banger of a concert in 1989.
I mean, as we tape this, I think we're down to 3, maybe 3.5 acts out of 9.
What Morris Day from Morris Day and the Time will not be there?
He will not be there. So there were 9 initially. Yeah. Morris Day and the Time, CNC Music Factory, Vanilla Ice, Milli Vanilli.
Which we're confused. We were confused the other day. Have you gotten any clarification on it? Is it the real Milli Vanilli, the fake, or the fake Milli Vanilli?
Well, I'm not clear, and I heard it's actually a woman who may have sung on it but wasn't involved, and like 1.5 of Milli Vanilli was dead.
Milli or Vanilli is dead. One of those two.
But it sounds like they're not doing it. Bret Michaels, Martina McBride. I think I'm missing a few here. So Morris Day said not doing it.
Yeah.
Young MC, another one, not doing it. Martina McBride not doing it. Bret Michaels just came out not doing it. The guy. So basically, the list seems to be down to Vanilla Ice. Flo Rida, I don't believe has commented.
Well, we're all waiting for that comment.
It seems like there's one more who I think is still on the list. CNC Music Factory is a tricky one because I guess at that point that's just Freedom Williams. And did you see the video he released talking about it?
No. I mean, wasn't one of the main guys, the original guys, and he also dead?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't.
You haven't followed.
The whole thing was like
you haven't followed this. You haven't followed the CNC Music Factory story.
The rapper from CNC Music Factory is Freedom Williams. Yeah. Freedom Williams was asked about it, and he released a video where he's ranting and saying, "I ain't effing playing this, but you can't effing tell me what to do. So maybe I'll play it, cause man, I'll vote for Hitler and I'll vote for Genghis Khan before I let you tell me what to do." And
wow.
the video, this video that he released, he's sitting on the toilet while he's making this rant.
Hey man, it's 2026.
So I'm not sure all is well with Freedom Williams.
Yeah,
but apparently he may or may not be part of the show. The Commodores were another one. They're not good. They're not doing it. They've pulled out.
Well, I mean, I was curious. Was it the existing original members or?
The Commodores?
Was it going to be Lionel Richie?
One original. It's not. No, Lionel Richie hasn't been involved in a while. I believe the Commodores have one member who was an actual Commodore.
I mean, again, it would have been a banger of a concert in 1989.
Yes.
I mean, wasn't that Vanilla Ice's peak, like 89, 90?
I'm going to go 90, 91 for Vanilla Ice.
Back when he was doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack.
Word to Your Mother, yes. The whole
rolling in his 5.0.
Yes. Yeah, that was the peak for Vanilla Ice.
Wow. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
I'll tell you too, the other thing like I'm struggling to keep straight is, do we have a peace deal or don't we have a peace deal with Iran, right? It's like every day it's like I feel like I see the same headline every day or the same news update. Like, Trump officials say there's a deal.
Yeah.
And what? But then you find out and something else happened and there has been no deal yet.
Yes. I've been frustrated by the number of people who actually listen and pay attention because there's no point in it. And it seems like every day it's, the stock market took off because Trump came out and said there's a deal and there's peace and the strait is open.
Yeah.
And there's no deal and the strait is not open. And when someone figures that out, the oil prices are, or the stock market's down the next day. It's just blather. You're not getting any comment on anything that's actually happening. They're just saying stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and it's hard. I mean, it's our job to pay attention to all of this stuff. I mean, but we focus a lot more on state, local politics, like you have to pay attention to a lot of the stuff that's happening, in Washington because it matters to what happens here, and you try to keep up with this, and it's just, and it's a bit confusing.
Yes.
It's like I thought, you'll see something like I thought we had a deal yesterday.
Yeah,
or we're on
the
on
answer
the brink
is
of a
you
deal.
never get a straight answer on anything. So anything they're told you, they tell you, you have to take with not just a grain of salt. You almost have to assume it's just not true, and they're just saying what one person wants to hear
Yeah.
at that particular moment.
Well, let's move on. Let's talk briefly about some local issues here. Particularly, I want to focus a little bit on the Attorney General debate, the Republican primary. Rodney Glassman v. Warren Peterson.
Yeah.
What a beauty that was.
Yeah.
It was, I have to, hats off, tip of the cap to Steve Goldstein, friend of the show.
Yeah.
For trying to manage that political mosh pit. That was
standing there with the hose, trying to knock the mud off of him with limited success.
It was like, good God, man. Because if you didn't see it, it was an hour long, and it was just these two tearing into each other, saying they belonged in prison, calling each other disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, my takeaway is the obvious, no shit takeaway that the winner that night was Chris Mays.
Yes.
I mean, the clear winner, because if you watch that, it's like these are two just kids like pissing on each other in the sandbox.
Yes. It is hard to imagine anyone watching that and feeling good about either candidate.
No, seriously.
And full disclosure, it was on opposite Game 6, Spurs Thunder. I didn't see that much of it.
Yeah.
What I saw was not impressive, and I've seen clips and heard other major bits.
I mean, from the mispronunciation of Tom Horn's name, to Rodney Glassman's.
People can guess where that one went.
Yeah, exactly. To the then Rodney Glassman feeling the need to step in and defend Tom Horn's honor.
Yes.
Say his name.
Yes.
Like, it was bizarre.
Yeah, it was. I caught the section where Steve asked them if Joe Biden was a legitimate winner in the 2020 election, and Glassman gave the unfortunately, we will never know.
Rodney, we do know.
Yeah, we do.
Joe Biden won that election.
Yeah, I mean the legislature had a bunch of QAnon nutcases come in to try and investigate it and make the case that it was stolen, and even they walked out of it.
The cyber ninjas.
Yeah, no, that was clean. That was good. He won.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's nothing to see here. We realize that's not what you're looking for, but we couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
And if you're running for attorney general and you're going to make arguments like that, like there wasn't any, let alone proof of
voter fraud.
There wasn't any evidence of voter fraud because they were asked to supply it in court over and over, and they never did anything. And when Carrie Lake was asked what their evidence was going to be, I believe her answer was, "Wouldn't you like to know?"
Hey, man. I mean, the evidence was what they said. That was the. Yeah. It was just pure conjecture.
Yes. Never anything offered to back up any of it.
And it's why all those lawsuits got tossed out.
Yes.
I mean, so many of those things got tossed out, and these guys want to be the attorney general.
Yes.
I don't know. One of the other things that stuck out to me that I found hilarious was, Warren Peterson, was going after Rodney Glassman for not having prosecutorial experience.
Yes.
He's like, well, he doesn't have. Show us who you've prosecuted. I'm like, that's a great question. I'm like, yeah, Rodney, like give us some paperwork. Yeah. Show us, let's see what you've done.
Yeah.
Over there, because you run the JAG Corps, you say.
Yeah.
But the thing is like the guy making that accusation has had his law license for 28 months.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah. It's a tough spot to make that allegation. Yeah. I have to think Chris Mays was watching it and just cackling.
It's still going to be a close race, no matter who comes out.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's going to. I mean, Chris Mays won by what, 280 votes?
Yeah, it was tight.
It was a tight race, man. It's still going to be tight, no matter who comes out. But like, if you're watching, if you tuned in and saw any of that, or if you're just seeing the clips going around today. And that's a lot how I judge debates now is, okay, how's the coverage the next day? What clips are circulating on social media? It was kind of a clown show.
Yeah.
And again, hats off to Steve Goldstein. I remember a couple of years ago, we were a little critical of his handling of a Senate debate.
Yeah.
Good job this time around.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. What are you going to do, man? It was... Yeah, did fine in a tricky situation.
No, it reminded me of almost like a fire crew going on the defense. right? Yeah, you're like, okay, maybe you're not going to put the fire out, but I'm just going to try to make sure it doesn't spread.
Yeah.
And
Save
I think
the garage.
I just think that's where Goldstein was.
He was there. He was saving the garage. See if we can get the pets out.
Because it reminded me of that old sports cliche from the announcers, like, this is a competition between two teams that just don't like each other. Like, those guys clearly don't like each other.
Yeah.
And at one point, I mean, Rodney Glassman has run for so many races that, he reminded Warren Peterson that, that Peterson had endorsed him when he ran for county assessor.
Yes.
And thanked him for that endorsement.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, hell of a night, man.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well. So,
we waited 2 weeks for this.
We've teased it enough.
Yeah. People who are routine listeners know we love to tear apart music lists.
Oh, love it. It's our favorite thing other than the dunking on Eric Clapton.
Yeah. Who's not on this list. So when we saw Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest punk albums of all time, pretty solidly in our wheelhouse. And I'll say beforehand, it's not a terrible list.
It's not
I'll find fault with a lot of it.
I'm going to say I'm not sold on that because it's more about the omissions in the top 20.
Yes, we will nitpick this, but I'm also happy to see some of them where they are. Anyway,
and I just want to say, like, my first thought when I saw that, because you see the headline, like 100, great punk rock albums, and like, why do you got to make these lists so long?
It's a long list,
right? Because
thankfully they have those spots at the end where they can fit in the stuff that's actually good.
Yeah, because like at that point, like, if you want a list for me of my top 100 punk rock albums, I'll give you one. But at some point, I'll just start naming.
It's name an album.
It's just name an album.
Yeah, All right, I'll go through the top 20 here. Number 1, the first Ramones record, as we mentioned with Paul earlier.
No, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, they were
fine.
innovators of the whole punk rock movement. In that record, I'm sure a lot of our listeners, you've heard those songs and you know those songs.
Yes.
Even if you don't think you know those songs, it's part of the DNA of just pop culture in America. I mean, it's popped up in soundtracks. It's probably been on at parties and bars and things you've went to.
Yeah. And then here's where it starts going off the rails for me. Number 2, X-Ray Specs, Germ-Free Adolescence.
Okay. That's not a bad record.
It's not a bad record, but also, and I went back and listened to it yesterday because I haven't, it's not an album I know well at all. And it occurred to me that for a lot of punk, there's a high level of you had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to go back and listen to the stuff now and get it because, the whole, bondage up yours, and I'm a poser, I just want to make you uncomfortable, ha 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 ha. Was like pretty edgy in '81, particularly from a British girl shouting it. It mostly just sounds stupid now, and the music sort of so it's okay. At number 2, that feels like a cutesy selection.
It seems like trying to be a kind of a hipster type selection too, because like the Adolescents, like decent. I was never the biggest fan of that, but to put them at number 2 is like. It seems a bit wild. Like, if you're going to put together a list of top 5, baseball players, and and then you're going to put somebody, I don't know, like
Mark Fidrich,
or somebody at number 2. You're like, huh?
All right,
like
happy with this one. Number 3, the Minutemen, Double Nickels on the Dollar.
Oh yeah, great record.
Number 4, the very first Clash record. Great record. In a moment, we'll get to where we take a slight issue with that. I think.
Yes.
But it's a classic record.
I think it's significant, the issue.
Yes. But once we get to about number 10, we'll revisit the Clash at 4th. 5th, Slater-Kinney, Dig Me Out.
Way overrated.
And it's a good record. It's a good band. It's a good record. It ain't 5th.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. Number 6, Wire, Pink Flag.
That's an influential,
Yes.
that was one of those punk bands, if you knew, you knew. Yeah. I mean, it's not the one it's not part of the canon you get into. Because I always thought, like, when you initially get into punk rock, you're like, you get the Ramones, there's the Misfits,
Clash, Sex Pistols,
and then you graduate to Dead Kennedy, the Dead Kennedys and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I never thought that band was there. I think isn't one of the women in that band? She's more famous for her role in Portlandia than she is in that band.
Oh, we're back to Slater-Kinney?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe that's why they're fifth now.
Yeah. So 6, Wire, Pink Flag. 7, the Sex Pistols. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols.
Oof, that's pretty low.
It is. 8, the Stooges, Funhouse.
You're not going to get any argument with Iggy.
No. I'm more of an Iggy fan than I am a Stooges fan, but I'm still not inclined to argue. Number 9, Nirvana, Nevermind.
There's always a debate of whether Nirvana's a punk rock band or not,
and I'm just of an age where I tend to gravitate towards the first wave of punk bands, not the second wave where I look at them and go, "Is that punk?"
Yeah, but I also make the argument that I'm a few years younger than you.
Yeah,
I make the argument that like that second wave of punk, you're talking about the '90s, the Green Day wave with
Green Day, Nirvana
wouldn't have happened without Nirvana.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Number 10, The Clash, London Calling.
You see, this is the thing. Like, if you're going to put the records on there, like punk rock records, I mean, in you make a case that maybe that London Calling's not a punk rock record.
Yeah, there's songs I think certainly, the song London Calling's punkish, like Clamp Down is kind of a punk song.
The attitude and the vibe.
But like at the same time, Lost in the Supermarket doesn't strike me as the most punk song in the world.
No. But if you're going to put that on the list,
it's higher than the first record.
It's high. It's their best record and one of the best records in pop music ever made.
I would argue it's probably the best album of the last 50 years.
Yeah,
so if you're going to put it on the list of the best punk records, hard to argue it's not number 1 or close to it. I'm not sure it's a punk record. The first Clash record, which they have at 4, is absolutely a punk record.
It's a great record.
So, and on that level, I have no trouble with it at number 4, except there's something comical about putting London Calling on the list and putting it 10th.
Yeah.
Number 11, I suspect we split on this, Black Flag, Damaged.
That's a really good record. I believe it's one of the first records that Rollins was on.
I think so.
But I think there are better Black Flag records.
Yeah, and I'm not a Black Flag guy, so I wouldn't have.
I think Black Flag there at 11. I think Black Flag. You're talking about great records. I mean, I guess you get into that semantic argument to define what is a great punk rock record.
Yeah.
I think Black Flag should have been in the top 10 for something. I mean, they're so influential. Certainly, they deserved it more than the Adolescents.
Yeah, I think my argument would be if you're talking about a great punk rock record, it probably doesn't involve Black Flag. But
yeah.
12, Patti Smith, Horses.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah.
13, Husker Du's and Arcade.
That should be higher. That is an amazing.
14, one of my favorite records of all time, Los Angeles by X.
Yeah, it's a very that is
quintessential.
That is quintessential for that era of punk. You're talking late 70s, early 80s.
Yes.
That is a record that should be in the top 5.
Yeah. Quickly, 15, New York Dolls, first record.
Yeah.
16, Gang of 4, Entertainment.
Okay.
17, Bad Brains.
See, I love the Bad Brains.
Yeah.
And to me, the Bad Brains. Greatest hardcore band ever.
Yeah.
And I would put that record very high up on the list.
Number 18, and this one's always funny to me, the Buzzcocks, Singles Going Steady. Buzzcocks are a great band. It's just funny to me that that's always the album people cite because it's a greatest hits record. And for whatever reason, that's always the one that people gravitate to with the Buzzcocks. But I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would have that in my top 10. With the caveat that it's cheating. Number 19, Bikini Kill, Reject All American. Or Reject All American, I don't know. And then number 20, Green Day, Dookie.
See, and that was the point of the list where I was reading through the top 20 that like I got a little bit pissed. There's no Bad Religion in the top 20.
No, I don't think. I'm scanning. I don't. Bad Religion 45, their album Against the Grain.
I mean, that is one of the best punk rock bands ever. And they've put out some of the most amazing records, from Suffer, No Control, Against the Grain. I mean, one of those albums should have been in the top 10. No brainer.
Yeah.
No Circle Jerks.
I don't believe the Circle Jerks. Oh, Circle Jerks number 50, Group Sex.
Yeah.
Made number 50.
That's not in the top 10? I mean,
at some point, you got to stop saying bands should be in the top 10 because I think we're probably up
I
to
know.
about 12 or 15
I know,
of them.
I know, but
yes, that's low.
But like Dead Kennedys? Or top 20. I should be saying top 20, but Dead Kennedys not even in the top 20?
Dead Kennedys number 68. Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables number 68. First punk record I ever heard. That was what got me into it.
And
I would think it should be higher.
I hate to say this too, because the singer is such a fucking putz. But the Misfits?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Let me see. Do we have Misfits? This is great radio, by the way. No Misfits on the list.
Yeah, it's great.
Let me plow through some of the notables outside the top 20. At 21, Marquee Moon by Television. 23, Milo Goes to College by the Descendants.
Ooh.
Like I said before, Rocket to Russia by the Ramones. 26, Fugazi's Repeater at 30. We've been talking about this one. 31, Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures.
Well, this is one I think is fun too because you and I would agree that we would not categorize this as a punk rock band or a punk rock album.
Yes.
However,
but if you do,
you've got
it ain't 31st.
That is one of the best records ever made.
It's a great record. It's got to be higher than 31. 32, Big Black, Atomizer. I was wrong. The Misfits, number 35. Misfits. 37, another one that would be top 10 for me, All Mod Cons by The Jam.
Ooh.
37 seems mighty low. Turnstile, the flavor of the month, at 39 with Glow on Cue. Bad Religion, again, Against the Grain at 45. Circle Jerks at 50. And Out Come the Wolves by Rancid at 51. Here's another one. Great album. I don't know why it's on the list. Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash by the Pogues. It's a great, great record.
I mean, the other thing, too, that is a great record. The other thing that didn't make the top 20 that I thought was criminal was Operation Ivy.
Yeah, and I'm not, let me plow through the rest of the list. I'm not, Operation Ivy 55. Energy by Operation Ivy.
So that's below Out Come the Wolves with Rancid.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Public Image Limited, second editions at 56.
I would like to know, like, who puts together, I wish they would write a story, like, in the story, like, or have some footnotes underneath, like, how the list was compiled.
They may have. I haven't seen it. I'm actually reading this off a different list because the Rolling Stone website is so infuriating to read.
Oh, that's true.
That they haven't gotten that far. Number 64, Stiff Little Fingers, Inflammable Material. That's too low. Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables at 68. That's too low. And I think we can probably, Social Distortion, Mommy's Little Monster at 88. I'd put it higher than that. The Damned at 90. Feels mighty low.
90.
And we're pretty much out of time, so I will defer the rest of the time to allow you to rant over the fact that at number 96, we have The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused.
The greatest punk rock record of the 1990s. It's a crime that it's in 96?
96 of the top 100.
Wow. Yeah. That is absolutely criminal. I'll just leave it at that because we are up against it right now because we've got to actually get out of the studio. Yeah. But before we leave, I want one quick sports prediction. This is Friday. Who will be playing in the finals next week?
Well,
we know one
I'll
team.
Take the Knicks.
We know one team, the Knicks.
I'm going to go. There are any number of reasons why I should pick the opposite. I'll go San Antonio Spurs. See what Wemby does. If Wemby's going to be dominant in the middle, I think they win. And if Wemby's taking 3-pointers, I think the Thunder wins.
All right, man. You're on the record.
Okay.
Hey, man, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.